welcome back to writing log number 5. This is my journey, Mr. Sidequest, at trying to write and publish a novel within a year. I highly doubt that it's possible. However, it seems like a good stretch goal and it has pretty good motivation factor. That being said, writing is always hard. It takes time and effort, and sometimes when you sit down and you start writing, it just doesn't work, which means you got to revise. But it's good to get that writing down anyways. Thing that I'm most excited for right now in this last week, talk about the successes, is we have gotten some chapters in which we can actually talk about um, each individual character. We've introduced a plot arc, and all of this, I hope to find a way that I can start putting up chapters so that people could read them and give me feedback even from this community. I know that right now, like, I think I have 3 subscribers and 1 view on each of the videos, which is probably not great. But the idea is that this will be a long-term project. So hopefully this turns into something, and I should at least be inviting the community. That's the goal. Along with that, I have a writing group this week, and I'm pretty excited to share what I have with them because I took some time to tell instead of show. And that's kind of the topic of today's video, is this idea that we get told all the time as amateur writers that we need to show, not tell, show, not tell. And I think that's accurate for most of the time. My main issue with the idea, though, is that it's not always true. Sometimes you need to tell, and people don't teach when you need to tell. Instead, they just say, don't do it, or show more. And I wanted to give some ideas and some examples of when you should be telling rather than showing. Okay, first off, some very typical things that I think, and these could be wrong, that you should be telling is you're going to just have to tell what this person's name is. There's some ways that you can hide it, but you're just going to have to tell what the main character's name is. Like, you can't do that. Okay? Can't really hide and show it through another means. It's kind of weird to not know what the main character's name is. And so that's a good example. So things like that. For example, you're just going to have to tell people what your character looks like. Yeah, you can show it by them looking into a mirror, which I do. And you might be able to but you might just have to say what their clothes are. You're not going to be able to always show that in a way that is, first of all, satisfying, and second of all, meaningful, and even just well done. Like, just because you show it doesn't mean it's good, is what I guess I'm getting to. And I've been thinking about this a lot as I've been trying to kind of balance the showing and telling in this first bit, where I want to be explaining a magic system in a way that people can understand what's going to be happening. And one of my concerns that I've realized is that world building and showing cannot get in the way of your plot. Because if you don't have your plot moving forward, or your readers don't understand what is happening, then they're not going to keep reading. So it doesn't matter that you have the coolest world or the coolest magic or the coolest whatever if your plot isn't progressing in a way that they can follow. And so as soon as your world building gets in the way of your plot, which I know is pretty common for a lot of writers because we love writing interesting worlds, even non-fantastical worlds, right? Even if you're in a real life, alternate Earth, but it's really just the same, it's just, fiction written in this time period or in an alternative time period, you're still going to have to world build in some way, and that can be very interesting. Like an artist's room in, I don't know, St. Louis, right? In a St. Louis suburb, and that specific place is where the setting is. That's still very interesting. But if that gets in the way of your plot of, actually, it's about this artist who got murdered, right? Like, if you're focusing too much on the art and showing rather than just telling the story, then you have an issue. Maybe this has been kind of a ramble and it doesn't make total sense, but it's just something I've been thinking a lot about as I've been writing. And I hope that this week, as I share some of my telling that I've done, I can see where that balance comes from people reading it, right? You as an author can't always tell what you need to do or what you need to change because you wrote it. And so it's very exciting to share your work, and I recommend doing that as much as you can, because as nerve-wracking as it can be, you're going to get your best advice from other people. And yes, you are the author in the end, and you have the final decision. And that's what's great about getting advice is you can choose to ignore it. You might be wrong in the end. You might end up going back on what you said, but that's how it works. Yeah, so that's the goal. By next week, the goal is to get for sure someone knocked down to be our mentor, and also to have about 15 to 20,000 words done. We're a little bit behind, but it should be fine. So I'll let you know next week. It might be a little bit later in the week, just like this one is. It was a little late. I had a different video recorded, but I didn't like it, so I redid it. And luckily, these videos are short, so they can do that. Anyways, keep writing, have fun, and I'll talk to you all next week.